welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to go over some cases in the news, talk about anything changing, any upcoming trials, things of that nature. My current case recaps, I'm not really sure what I'm going to call it. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm having some issues with my mic. I'm trying to work on a setup. Got a new webcam. I just have to play around a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But we'll see how this video and the sound is. Before we jump into the video, I just wanted to take a second to remind you to like the video. If you could, please. It really helps out my channel. It's a free way to help me, and it really gets my video out there in the algorithm so other people can see it. Sometimes you might see me looking down. It's just because I'm referring to my notes. Again, I'm trying to work on a good setup where I can refer to my notes and it's not so obvious. We'll see how it goes. But I want to start off by talking about Athena Brownfield. She was a 4-year-old from Surreal, Oklahoma, and she went missing on January 10th. Before I released my last update video, which was about almost 2 weeks now probably, they released that they did find children's remains, but they did not notify anybody if they were the remains of Athena. However, since then, it has been released that Athena's remains have been found. Now, we kind of knew that this was happening. Her 2 caregivers were arrested. One, Ivan Adams, who was arrested for murder and child neglect, and his wife, although I guess they're separated at the time. Not really sure. However, his wife, Alyssa Adams, who is charged with 2 counts of child neglect. A lot of the information we know about the situation comes from Alyssa. She basically told the police that Ivan beat poor Athena to death. Now, for those who were not familiar or just need a quick reminder, again, Athena Brownfield is from Surreal, Oklahoma. She was the 4-year-old that was reported missing when her 5-year-old was found by a postal worker walking around outside without any supervision, saying she was hungry, things along that line. So the postal worker called 911. A lot of digging was done, and this is when they found out that 2 caregivers. One was nowhere. One, I guess, left the weekend before, and one was in another state. Ivan was in another state, who I said was charged with murder. He was finally extradited. I say finally like he's been there a while, but he was extradited from Arizona, where he was arrested, to Oklahoma, where he did face his arraignment, and he was denied bond. His next hearing is scheduled for April 27th. Also, in this case, there was a gag order issued by the judge, which means that no law enforcement, lawyers, or other official personnel can talk about the case to the media. Basically, the only people who can talk about it are the media and lay people like you and me. Well, I'm not entirely sure if you're a lay person, but I definitely am a lay person. Now, this doesn't really mean too much for the actual case. However, it does mean that we probably won't receive a lot of information unless it's released in a document, at a hearing, or during the trials. But again, I'll keep you updated in that case. Next, I want to talk about Megan Nichols. So I covered Megan Nichols in one of my previous deep dive cases. I want to say it was probably 2 months ago now. She was a 15-year-old who went missing from Fairfield, Illinois. She, like I said, was reported missing by her mother. However, her body was found in a shallow grave, but it wasn't until 2017, sadly, that her body was found. Originally, when she went missing in 2014, her boyfriend at the time, Brodey Murbarger, if I said that right, was cleared in her disappearance, or at least police announced to the public that he wasn't a suspect at the time. However, he would eventually be arrested for her murder in 2022 after he was indicted by a grand jury. Now, all the evidence did look like it was pointing to him. The last text and phone calls were to or from him. A girlfriend that he was seeing at the same time as Megan said that he received a message from Megan and abruptly left, leaving his phone at her residence. Then for the next 6 hours, she didn't know where he was, and come to find out, he would not be able to give any type of alibi, or anyone could verify what he was doing for those 6 hours. And it was in those 6 hours that Megan would disappear. And one of the biggest things in Brodey's trial was they presented evidence that Megan's blood was found in the trunk of his car. He would go and say that this was due to a sexual encounter that him and Megan would have. She bled during it. He cleaned it up with an old t-shirt, threw the t-shirt in his trunk, and then when it rained, it leaked into his trunk. Water leaked into his trunk and caused the t-shirt to bleed out into his trunk, for a lack of a better word. He was found guilty of Megan's murder back in October, I want to say, of 2022. But he was just sentenced on Friday, January 27th, to 50 years in prison without parole. So thankfully, he will be going away for a while, and hopefully Megan's family is able to move past this and move towards, I guess, putting this behind them, since I don't really think any closure comes from, but at least some sort of justice was served. Cory Bigsby. So I spoke about Cory Bigsby in his son's video, Cory Bigsby, that I did about a month ago. Cody went missing on January 31st, 2022 from Hampton, Virginia. That was a year ago today. I'm recording this on January 31st, 2023. So Cory, the names are so similar. Cory Bigsby has been missing for exactly 1 year. And there's been no resolution, no arrest. Unfortunately, no body has been found. Now, his father, Cory Bigsby, was charged with 7 counts of, I believe it was child endangerment, for leaving his 4 children home alone by themselves. Now, this would change to 30 charges after a grand jury indicted him on these 30 charges. And he was supposed to go to trial, I want to say, in November. However, the judge ordered a competency exam to be held on him to see if he was fit to stand trial and to help in his defense. Now, he was back in court for this. Hearing was held on January 27th, just this past Friday, where he was found or deemed competent to stand trial by the evaluator who evaluated him. However, his lawyer did find issue with this and said that they hired a secondary evaluator to conduct the evaluation, and they found him not fit to stand trial. So the judge decided to order a second competency hearing to be done on Cory Bigsby, and he did notify the defense that their competency hearing would not be admissible in court because, of course, they contracted with somebody who was not on the approved list of medical personnel to perform that duty. Now, his next hearing is scheduled for March 27th. I think it's important to take a moment and to remember that Cody is still missing. This 4-year-old little boy has been missing for a year now, and no one has been charged with his disappearance. That's just heartbreaking. Now, there is an update in the Alexander Jackson case, which I said in my video when I covered this that I want to call him Andrew Jackson. So if I do that, I mean Alex. So Alex is on trial in Cedar Rapids for the murder of his father, Jan Jackson, his mother, Melissa Jackson, and his 19-year-old sister, Sabrina Jackson. They were all murdered back on January 15th, 2021. Alex was the only survivor of this incident. He called 911, telling 911 that an intruder broke into his home and basically killed his whole family. He was awakened out of his bed by hearing loud gunshots, where he ran downstairs and saw his father on the floor. He struggled with the intruder over this gun, which the gun box for the gun belonged in the basement, but not belonged in the basement, was underneath, I don't even know what I'm saying, was actually underneath Alex's bed. So the gun used in the murders the case for it was under Alex's bed. So Alex told 911 that he struggled with this intruder. He ended up getting shot in the foot, and the intruder ran off, leaving the weapon behind. So, like I said in that video, only Alex's fingerprints were found on it. He was found to only have been shot in the foot. Well, Alex was found guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder for murdering his mother, father, and sister. He will be receiving a mandatory life sentence, which his sentencing is scheduled for March 3rd. Now, it's a mandatory life sentence because it doesn't have the death penalty, which isn't really too rare. Now, I know the death penalty is a hot topic, and over time, my own opinion on it has changed. When I first started getting into true crime, I was really for the death penalty. I believe that people definitely deserve to die for taking the life of someone else. And I'm not necessarily saying that they don't deserve to die, but I have put some thought into it that there are more people than involved than just the person being put to death. And I mean, there's the victim's family. Some people don't believe in the death penalty. Some people think that life is worse than dying. Well, life in prison is worse than the death penalty. Now, I also thought about the people that are family of the victim, or not of the victim, of the defendant. Their children never asked to be put in this position to have to go and watch their father or mother be put to death. I know there's a lot of controversy over it, and you're entitled to your own opinion, as am I. We can discuss those in the comments, but it's really important that we always are respectful of each other. People are entitled to their own opinions. Remember that. So I feel like I have to mention Larry Ray, who was accused and convicted of leading a sex cult at his daughter's college, right here in my lovely state of New York. So his daughter attended Sarah Lawrence College, where he basically started living. So before we get into that, I do want to say he had a sentencing hearing on January 20th, where he was sentenced to 60 years in prison. So the case of Larry Ray began when he was released from prison in 2010 and decided to stay in the dorm room of his daughter at Sarah Lawrence University. He began cooking expensive dinners and buying her roommates nice things, basically a way of grooming them to make them feel like they were special and he was of some importance to them. This is often done by con men or people who are cult leaders and groom the people in their cults. So he was grooming this group of vulnerable teens, and soon enough he would be controlling them. He would brainwash the group over a series of time into one situation where he was convincing them that they either damaged his property and owed him money, or that they were trying to poison him. And he would record these false confessions and use them against these teens later as some sort of leverage. So he would use this, I guess, brainwashing, convincing them that they owed him money and all this stuff to get them to give him money. He would even have them prostitute themselves. One girl ended up giving him $2.5 million that she earned by selling herself to pay him back money that he kept convincing her that he owed. So these situations that Larry would put himself in ended up getting him 60 years in prison. So he was convicted in April of 2022 on a bunch of charges, including conspiracy, money laundering, forced labor, and tax evasion, which got him those 60 years in prison. There's so much to this case that if you're into cults and things of that, then I would definitely look more into that, or into this case, because it is crazy. I am not really big into cults. I did watch some of the videos of him recording his members, and it was just heartbreaking. I'm not good at watching those of any videos of any victims. It just breaks my heart. It's not for me. It's not good for my mentality. But we're going to move on. So lastly, at least in this recap, we're going to talk about Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. Now, I was sick for a little while in there, so a lot happened, I want to say, in that time period between my last video about her and now, about them and now. But let's just jump into it. So I don't think I really need to recap their story the entire time, or every time we speak. If you're into true crime, then you've probably been following this case since 2019 when Lori didn't produce her children. But if you're not into true crime, then I really appreciate you watching this video, and I've recapped her on another video if you want to go check it out below, or check it out. I'll recap it really, really fast. Lori Vallow and her most recent husband, Chad Daybell, are on trial for the murder of Lori's two children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Now, they are also charged with the murder of Chad's previous wife, Tammy Daybell. So there's a lot that we need to talk about, because there's a hearing on January 19th where motions were filed prior to this hearing. First, Lori requested that she could meet up with Chad. She wanted to sit down and have a conversation with Chad. So it would be Lori, Chad, both of their attorneys. They would sit in a room and discuss, I guess, strategies with the case. Now, Chad's attorney shot this right down. He said he didn't want to strategize with anyone. He had no interest in meeting. It came out through Lori's attorney that basically Lori received a letter asking if she wanted to take a plea agreement. She said she wanted to sit down with her husband and discuss the situation and see what he said about this. Needless to say, this isn't, I guess, normal. I want to say, I'm not really an expert in this, but I never heard of co-conspirators having a meeting. And Judge Boyce denied this request, which is of no surprise, really. Then John Pryor, who is Chad's attorney. Normally I don't know the attorneys' names and the judges in each cases, but we've been following these ones for so long. They've had so many hearings. We've heard from Judge Boyce so many times that the names just kind of stick with you. So John Pryor, Chad's attorney, filed a motion requesting a continuance for their upcoming trial that was supposed to start in April. Pryor said that he needed more time to prepare a case for his client and to ensure that he was giving effective counsel to Chad. But the judge denied this request, stating that previously John Pryor did tell the court that he was ready to go already. There's been many hearings where John Pryor is trying to sever the case or trying to push Chad's case forward while Lori's is kind of stuck in one place. So he has previously said to the court that he was ready to go. So Judge Boyce denied this, and the hearing is still set for April 3rd. Now, even more motions have been filed since that hearing took place. It looks like Lori filed a motion requesting her case to be dismissed for violating her right to a speedy trial. Because, as we all know, she has not waived her right to a speedy trial. She has not waived her right to a speedy trial, even though we know Chad has. So Lori hasn't waived it, Chad has. Now, the fact that this is a problem is because, according to the Sixth Amendment, each person has a right to a speedy trial. And in Idaho, that's 6 months. So the couple was indicted in May of 2022? No. The couple was indicted in May of 2021, but Lori's arraignment did not take place until April 19th, 2022, because she had some mental... She was not deemed fit. She had some mental health issues. There we go. That's how I wanted to say it. She had some mental health issues where she was deemed unfit to stand trial. So she went off to the mental health hospital. They, I guess, spiffed her up a little bit. And so she was brought back in April 19th of 2022, where they said she was fit to stand trial. Now, according to Judge Boyce, there was good cause for the trial to be pushed further. So April of 2022, trial should be in October of 2022. Now, in May of 2022, he ruled that he was going to give everyone ample time and that the trial would not be, I believe, until January, the end of January of 2023. So come October, Lori's lawyers had some questions about her mental competency. So they requested a mental health evaluation be done. Judge Boyce went ahead and postponed the trials until that could be dealt with further, especially with her history. I feel like that would make sense. Now, she was found fit to stand trial, but they already postponed the January of 2023 date. So that brought us to April 3rd of 2023, and that's where we stand right now. We have not heard any ruling on this yet, so once the judge releases something or a hearing is done, I think they have one on February 9th. Once that's completed and we hear if it's dismissed, which I don't believe Judge Boyce will, because he was the one who found good cause to move it to April or January, and even though it violated her rights, he felt that was okay. I feel like the biggest issue will be more if an appeal is filed with one of the higher up courts, that they can rule against this. But we'll deal with that when we get there. Let's at least get to trial with them, right? And then, of course, John Pryor filed another motion requesting the cases to be severed. Now, if you're following this case, you know that he's already done this twice already, and both times were denied. So we'll have to go ahead and see that now with this speedy trial issue, John Pryor's, I guess, hoping to get them severed for luck. I don't know. He's basically saying that his client will not receive a fair trial if the cases are not severed. So we should hear about these things on February 9th, maybe earlier, I doubt, but I'll go ahead and update you as soon as we know what's going on with them. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I do have a few other cases I want to talk about. Upcoming trials of Aiden Fucci. Andre McDonald is on trial right now. Quentin Simon, Trezell and Jacqueline West, Cassie Carley. These are all ones that either have had something happen in them or they're about to go to trial. So I'll go ahead and get as many videos as that takes out to you as soon as I can. But in the meantime, go ahead and like this video and please hit subscribe if you find it worthy to subscribe. You can find all my links to my resources in the description box along with my social media handles and ways to support the channel. Again, if you've made it this far, I cannot thank you enough. And until next time, stay safe out there. The world can be an ugly place.